Hi, I'm Robert Begley, day 279 of my video challenge. Do a little bit of reading today from this book, which is called Sympathy for the Drummer, Why Charlie Watts Matters. I have my own personal tribute to the drummer in the Rolling Stones when he passed away after a full and productive life. He made it to 80. But anyway, this book, it's really shows why Charlie Watts matters. I've said it many times before. Rolling Stones, from age 10 to 14 in my life, they dominated. And yes, Mick Jagger was one, but I loved Keith Richards, Brian Jones, who died before I became a Stones fan, and Charlie Watts as drummer. So I'm going to read one scene, and I'm going to try to keep a straight face. So Mick and Keith, they're always bickering. They're like brothers. They love each other, but they hate each other. And Charlie has the best seat in the house for 60 years. I mean, even the cover is him playing the drums. This is, I believe, Altamont, Jagger's 1969 here, this picture. But the point is, he's watched all of this from his drum seat. So we get to 1984. And this is the description of the scene. Let's see, this is page 206 in the book. It's 1984. The Stones are not getting along well, but they're trying to patch things up, and they find themselves in Amsterdam for a meeting. Mick and Keith are on lousy terms. But they decide to go out for a few beyond Mick's limit. Anyway, Keith loans Mick his jacket to go out, the one Keith got married in. And they get back to the hotel around 5 in the morning, properly ported. At which point, Mick has the bright idea, against Keith's sage advice, to call up Charlie's room and demand, "Where's my drummer?" According to Keith. 20 minutes later, there's a knock at the door. There was Charlie Watts. Seville row suit, perfectly dressed, tie, shaved, the whole fucking bit. I could smell the cologne. I opened the door and he didn't even look at me. He walked straight past me, got a hold of Mick, and said, "Never call me your drummer again." Then he hauled him up by the lapels of my jacket and gave him a right hook. It gets better. Keith calls it a drummer's punch and says it's lethal. It carries a lot of balance and timing. Nothing less than you would expect from a guy whose right hand has been carrying the weight of the greatest rock and roll band in the world for 20 years. So far, so good. But here's the part everyone forgets. The Charlie Watts right hook is, in fact, no laughing matter. And Mick flies back onto a platter of smoked salmon and begins to slide out of the open window toward the canal below. Oh, man. And admit it. Mick Jagger sliding out of a window on a platter of smoked fish into a canal is fucking hilarious. After all the drugs, the misadventure, Altamont, and every other fucked up situation they have ever been in, who thought this is how the Rolling Stones would end? In a scene more worthy of a Marx Brothers than a Silver Blues. Except that Keith realizes that Mick is wearing his jacket, the one he got married in, and he really wants it back. It's a real leave the gun, take the cannoli moment. Keith grabs Mick and hands him back into the room. Charlie is incensed. He was happy to see Mick go flying over the window. In fact, he wants to have another go at it. But Keith is insistent about not wanting to lose the jacket. Boy, this print is tiny. I'm sorry about reading poorly here. But Charlie Watts lands a right hook. Mick goes flying into a salmon platter, almost out the window. I love Mick. I love Keith. I love Charlie. But this story gets me. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow, day 280 of the video challenge, where I'll talk about my trip to Tallahassee.